You don't vote for them. Their names aren't on your ballots. But they can own your home, your job, your data, and sometimes even your politicians. They don't produce anything, sell anything, or build anything with their hands. Their job is to move money from one place to another. And somehow, that makes them more powerful than presidents. Because in modern America, money doesn't just talk, it governs. Welcome to the stories of money, where money, power, and history collide, and nothing is ever as simple as it looks. Most people have heard the word hedge fund, but almost no one truly knows what it means. Even the name sounds strange, like a legal loophole or a landscaping service. But behind it lies one of the most powerful ideas in modern finance. A hedge fund is really a private investment club for the wealthy. Imagine a huge pool of money collected from rich investors, pension funds, and big corporations. A small team manages it. Their goal is simple: make the highest profit possible, as long as the law allows it. Unlike ordinary investment funds, hedge funds aren't tightly restricted. They can take risks, use complex contracts, and even make money while markets crash. Derivatives sound complicated, but they're basically bets about the future. You don't buy the thing itself. You bet on what its price will be, like predicting whether it will rain, but the financial version. And hedge funds master exactly this: speed, secrecy, and speculation. The funny thing is, the first hedge fund wasn't crazy at all. It was founded in 1949 by Alfred Winslow Jones, a sociologist. His goal was simply to reduce risk. The idea was straightforward. He bought stocks he expected to rise and shorted those he expected to fall. But things escalated in the 1980 seconds. The Reagan era. Rules loosened, debt became cheap, and money poured into Wall Street. Anyone who could borrow could play big. And hedge funds seemed designed for exactly this. They weren't banks, so they avoided heavy regulation. They weren't public companies, so they didn't owe much transparency. They grew quietly, but powerfully, in the invisible corners of the system. If the average investor was playing chess, hedge funds were playing poker with other people's chips. In the 1990 seconds, their power exploded. They invested in everything from currencies to commodities, even entire countries. You probably know Soros's bet against the British pound. In 1992, the Bank of England lost, and Soros won. More than $1 billion in a week. One single fund toppled a nation's currency. That's not an investor, that's a power display. Then came the LTCM disaster. A fund run by Nobel Prize-winning economists. Their math was supposed to be unbeatable, until Russia defaulted. Their huge positions collapsed and threatened global markets. The Fed organized a $3.6 billion bailout. That day, hedge funds learned one thing: if you're big enough, the system won't let you fail. In the 2000s, their influence grew even more. They hired former government officials, donated to both political parties, and shaped the rules. With leverage and derivatives, they turned small money into massive positions. If you have $1 million, you can buy $1 million worth of stocks. But if you act like a hedge fund, you put $1 million as collateral and borrow $9 million more. You open a $10 million position. If it rises 10%, you don't make 10%, you make 100%. If it falls, you're wiped out. During the 2008 crisis, some funds made fortunes while everything burned. John Paulson was one of them. He made $20 billion while millions lost their homes. After the crisis, banks were tightly regulated, but hedge funds still relaxed. They filled the vacuum, lending to companies, extending credit, even funding distressed countries. This is what we call shadow banking. Today, that market is worth $2 trillion. Hedge funds no longer just invest. They influence energy prices, food prices, rent, currencies. When markets crashed during the pandemic, they profited. When markets recovered, they profited again. When inflation hit, they took positions on wheat, oil, metals. People struggled with rising prices. They made more money because they don't just bet on the future, they shape it. Some people call them the new intelligence agencies of capitalism. Satellite images, credit card data, consumer behavior. They track everything. They don't need to run governments. They just need to know what the government will do a few seconds earlier. Their power is invisible because it's structural. When they own major parts of a country's housing market, corporate debt, or energy infrastructure, the laws start to bend around them. Want to regulate rents? Capital flows elsewhere. Want to tighten derivatives rules? Liquidity vanishes. The system runs on one logic. Money must keep flowing. The ironic part? Many hedge funds contain the public's retirement savings. The savings of teachers, nurses. So the public unknowingly finances the power working against them. Hedge funds don't see themselves as villains. In their mind, they provide liquidity and make markets efficient. But history shows us something clear. Power always concentrates and eventually breaks. There were private empires in the past, like the East India Company. Today, hedge funds are their modern version. They don't start wars, they finance both sides. They don't conquer countries, they buy their debt. This is the silent control of modern America. Politicians argue, while the real power players profit from the headlines. If hedge funds vanished tomorrow, the system would freeze. Credit would stop, markets would halt, governments would panic, because they've become the arteries of finance. When people ask, who runs America? The answer is clear. Quiet offices in Connecticut, giant spreadsheets, risk models. Once, empires conquered land. Now, they conquer liquidity. The problem isn't losing democracy. It's that we unknowingly traded it for efficiency. History is cyclical. Today's power rests on debt, data, and desire. But no empire built on leverage stands forever. If this gave you a new perspective, keep following. History always has the answers. Let me show you where to look.